This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, go to the Weird Renegade website. See the phone number there. Text me in reference to lessons and, of course, one-on-one lessons, and then one-on-one monthly lessons, and then, of course, work. And as I said, that the work is really single, but sometimes it goes hand in hand with the one-on-ones. I'm thinking about for this month of May that I have a monthly lesson. I'll keep you guys posted when it will start. And let's talk about the bewitchery and the spell work of famine and learning through work and learning through one-on-ones how to get through your famine and dry places during this time of what we call the pandemic works, okay? I have something on my lips. So anyway, I'm going to keep you posted with that frequency, and understand that is one-on-one lessons, the monthly lessons, which is separate from the energies that I do with individuals working on their life, their frequencies, whatever issues, what they're trying to solve, and more. Understand I do a lot of stuff, and I support and advocate for a lot of frequencies of what I do, because it's more than just spell work and witchery and talking shit. Life is fucked up out here, and people be needing some real motherfucking work done on some real shit. Anyway, art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art, and you already know that Wayward is about that revenge, redemption, and responsibility. I've been looking at the universal soul, and hopefully I'll get through this real quick. And I said, damn, we in the energies of the archangel named Hell in all capitals. The lost place and the lost souls, the wandering, and the dark minds. I was looking and reading some of my comments, and more as I read my comments, energies in this universal soul I wonder about. I said, people are in hell. Especially Black people are in hell. And I crack up because somebody in my comments, and people always want to talk shit, talking about Black. We're not Black. In this day and time, honey, I wouldn't give a fuck if you a giraffe. Because we still fucked up. We still got issues. And the bottom line, point blank, it doesn't matter if you're Black, white, or whatever. It's just what's happening in this universal soul. And some of you motherfuckers get out here with this conscious shit and this sovereign stuff and this and that, and you want to go on name changes and this and that. You don't even know what the fuck you are. Some of you Black people be out here throwing, well, you need to research. Research what? Other people work? Their spell work? Research is a thesis, and it's always other people's synopsis of what their research is. I've talked about this over and over. It's the world that sets the standards of what they want people to believe under this psychological warfare, and they can lead you that way. I see a lot of you guys do your research on Google. So I can see I have a lot of Google fingers and Google fairies. And what cracks me up is some of these readings are pretty repetitive. If this person says it, this person says it, and this person say it, then it must be true because they're all saying the same thing. But you don't understand, in the universal soul, that's not the way the world works. That's why we have books. And I'm not the biggest book person, but that's why we have books, to understand different people's philosophies and understandings and their researches. So if we're on Google daggers, you Google fairies, and it's pretty much synonymous that it has the same frequencies, everybody's saying the same thing, then what the hell, how can I say this? How do you open your mind to differences? You don't. Because your first go-to is, let me go to Google fairies. Let me go read this energy. Let me follow this philosopher. And they must be right. If, believe me, the funny thing how the brain works is, someone speaks slow and calm and clear with great vocabulary and grammar, your motherfucking dumbass believes it. If a person speaks ignorant or anything else that's above your pay grade, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. If it's against what you think you learned, it's above your pay grade. Do you know how many times on this motherfucking platform that I have talked shit and bullshit? There are hella videos that I had on here that I deleted, because time brings a change, and that's the way, and that is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be learning frequencies. We're supposed to be mind changing. We're supposed to grow. If I sat up and really continued of my first thoughts, then I wouldn't be here today. And then I compare to what I was taught to what I know today. And I was just like you niggas. Oh, it's this, and it's that, and it's this, and it's that. It cracks me up right now in these years that some of you motherfuckers are so into consciousness. Oh, love and light, and this and that. I was on that shit way back in the 90s, the way back in the fucking early millennium. And you're just now catching the fuck up. If you even go back to all these motherfuckers from the earlier frequencies, you will see something totally different. That's why I was talking to someone back in the day. We wasn't eating no motherfucking kale. What's a kale? You eat you some greens and collard greens. And I got stuck in that until I found out it's arsenic and metals. But she don't know what she talking about because she's fat. Honey, I've been through all of it. Because you're not even noticing that a lot of these niggas out here talk about they vegans are malnourished and thirsty and underdeveloped. A kale salad and incense sounds good to you with some tea. And some of them niggas be behind the scenes eating pork chops, just like some of them Jews. Didn't you see that video of them recording Dr. Sebi's son eating pork chops? And I know somebody personally who knows Dr. Sebi's son, said he was up in that fucking IHOP or wherever, Denny's, and he was up there ordering bacon and told the person that I know, just don't say nothing. It's the antibiotics and the process and the poisons. I was looking at people size and weight back in the day. Do you know it's harder to lose weight today? There was a time you be like, I want to go on a diet. And you go find you some, healthy things to eat. But even the healthy things you eat causes you to gain weight or either maintain the weight. Because of the processed bullshit and genetics shit that they put in it. They're growing food with human organisms now. We're not thinking out here. Because all you got to do is go on Google Daggers and become Google Fairies. It will tell you everything. You can't argue with niggas out here without the, let me look here because it says this and you saying that. And I need to compare you right here. And I need more instructions. I need more details. I had somebody write a whole fucking 3-page paragraph in my comments trying to check me and trying to break down and explain to me what the fuck misogynistic is. What the fuck do you think that I don't know? And because I said I want my man misogynistic, and the bottom line, you think I don't fucking understand that the real frequency behind it is a brutal frequency from white men, but I'm saying that as a foundation of masculinity? But you need to come in with your chamomile soup behavior and chamomile tea behavior and come and tell me what it is and what it ain't. And I responded to your comment and said, "Did you Google this?" Because nobody sits up and write this 20-page letter. The reason why we have ADHD, because everything is in words. And people just don't comment. They wanna tell you shit in detail because they don't know how to call you or talk to you or communicate better. In your face. And people like to throw spell work in cyber world. They want people to know how intelligent they are. They want to tear you down to say you're not so smart and you need to research and you need to do this and why don't you fucking do it, you Google fairy? Instead of keep trying to throw motherfucking spell work every fucking where in this cyber world. This motherfucking cyber magic. Somebody noted, what is my obsession in so many words with gays or gay men or gay people? What is the world obsession? There's something going on with some gay men, gay women, but I'm going to say gay men because most of the time is them commenting that believes nobody can speak on or into their world. They can have street interviews with motherfuckers, call people fish, talk shit, push an agenda, and you can't talk about them. Bull motherfucking shit. I'm not afraid of no fucking gay people, of no cancellation, of the gay gang coming. Who gives a fuck? Because you guys are a new breed of motherfuckers that have to be stopped. And people are too afraid to talk of the ignorance of this new current established gang cult that harass, manipulate, battle, conquer the world. It is called a frequency of free speech. Everybody have their amendment. If you're not on board, then they want to come and attack you. Not any opinions, not have a healthy conversation, not seeing points. I debate all the time with my gay spiritual constituents, especially one in particular, and we be arguing down. And he swears we should do a podcast. We get mad at each other. We disagree with each other. He say, I don't understand a lot of stuff. He tries to tell me, and sometimes I see shit later on, like, okay. And then he's the one who taught me how other gay men be up there doing rude shit to other gay men. There are times he said he refuses to be around other gay men because they so petty. I had gay men showing me all type of shit. And the audacity to come on something to try to create a prideful hierarchy? Somebody who's a dimwit wanted to argue me down in a 30-page comment paragraph. If you was to print it out, it would be 30 fucking pages of the difference with my uneducated ass of a gentrifier and migration and trying to specify what it means. If you don't get the fuck out of here with this goddamn bullshit, with this dummy ass behavior, and if you can't connect the dots that is all wrapped up in one bucket, I can't help you. Migration is economics. Gentrifying is economics. You migrate to gentrify, to create an economic status. But migration is moving around within your frequency. So therefore, if I'm in the fucking United States of America and I go from Maine to California, I am migrating across the United States to create a better economic status and change a certain neighborhood or foundation to build. Now, I am not about to get down with the get down. Just like they created an energy to remove black people from the city into the suburbs. White people moved out of the cities into the suburbs to get away from black people due to black people gentrifying neighborhoods in certain cities. Because in certain cities, black people migrated from somewhere else, moved into a city, which was economical and government based, to change the scope of the energy of the city or state. A movement. White people like, we don't want to be around these niggers. They cause too many problems. We're going to move to the suburbs. So then black people are like, well, we want to do what white people do because they seem to live rich and foundational in whatever they want to do, wealth and prosperity and income. So then they start giving black people good jobs, good pay. And then black people like, you know what, let's go move into the suburbs. And then they had that whole project going. They moved their asses back to the suburbs, and the white people moved back into the urban cities. Migration is also a form of gentrification to cause famine in different cities, to tear it down, to build it up. Just like in San Francisco alone, I was listening about the economics and the shopping. I said, what the fuck is there to do in San Francisco? I was appalled. You know, the Bloomingdale's is gone. Macy's is leaving. Nordstrom's is done. Saks Fifth Avenue is what whooped me, because they're saying that they started taking appointments only, and Saxworth Avenue is closing in San Francisco. And then they said some of the employees were going to move to Neiman Marcus, which is just a block down. I said, what? And then I started to think about 2015 through 2016, where some new interesting specimens ended up in San Francisco. Then all of a sudden, there was this whole frequency of Twitter. Twitter opened a lot of frequency, and I'm sitting back, and it was all these people who were migrating from the Midwest into San Francisco. But then I started to listen to a lot of the frequencies, meaning the Chinese. I said, these are different type of Chinese people, because even the Chinese from San Francisco was like, these people are strange. So I started to listen to certain frequencies of how they were speaking and what they were stating. Then I found out that the Chinese, a lot of the Chinese that was coming into San Francisco was coming from Southern California, let alone Orange County. And those are different specimens that changed the tone. They were cheap. The new people of San Francisco were cheap. Didn't want to pay for nothing. They was just whack. They complained about everything, food, all of that. Even the new travelers ain't shit. I was listening to about how in San Francisco, let alone California, how people don't like to travel here anymore. And San Francisco used to be one of the hot spots. I mean, just to look at Fisher's Wharf alone, from the wharf to Pier 39, where you going? What you doing? Shit is closed. You have main old school frequencies done. Then you have travelers complaining about San Francisco being too high. Well, it's too expensive. Y'all cheap motherfuckers. Because what I'm saying is that the new people in this universe are so they're cheap. They want to talk about HIV in certain states have increased. That's because of migration and migrating and gentrifying. For example, if you have a big AIDS or HIV frequency in Atlanta, and then they said, let's move to Texas, you don't think it's going to increase in Texas? Yes, it's going to increase because the people who had HIV in Atlanta didn't move to fucking Texas. Just like they saying that women are single in Texas. And like I told you, it's because they're migrating from different cities, hotspot cities, into Texas. If you up there talking about in the Carolinas, there's a high AIDS or HIV rate, well, let's start to look at the people and where did they migrate from. And then let's get into sex/sexuality. But this is above y'all pay grade, because you need to have it already documented and read to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. So I know going forward, when I see a 20-page comment, you're just a Google fairy. You're bored. You're probably doing tarot that's telling you, just say this to her. She has these issues. You throwing bones is telling you, just say this. Yeah. I'm in FI. According to this, it says she's this. That's why I laugh. Because this cyber frequencies have everybody believing that they're fucking Dr. Seuss. That's why we have so many podcasts and Negro podcasts. Because everybody's fucking Dr. Seuss. They open up the Cat in the Hat. read some pages, and then create a podcast. And then give them a title of Dr. Seuss. When I be listening to what the fuck black people talking about these days, I said, what the hell are we talking about? We are in hell. This is hell, right? And the archangel flies around. Let's go down some petty shit that we've been listening to, okay? Nicki Minaj's sister, I think her name is it Ming Lai? So I'm assuming what I've learned is that they would be considered a coolie because they for real, I believe, must have some Asian and Indian in them, and Caribbean. And I guess apparently she's on some show called Baddies and Gone Wild. And I said, dang, I didn't know that Nicki Minaj's sister, Ming, is it Ming Lai? That's Vietnamese, isn't it? Am I tripping? Or is it Chinese? I don't know. Whatever. But I'll start thinking about Ming. Is it Ming Hao Kai Lan? Okay, y'all went to the left. I'm acting like a Cancer. So she's on social media crying. And I have a question since I'm in hell. Why do people get on social media and you don't know what the fuck they're talking about? When did we stop, I guess, creating complete thoughts and sentences? What type of cyber warfare and cyber frequency is that? What connection is that in our brain that trains our brain to not to ask questions or want reasoning? What happened to philosophical understandings of completeness and full clarity? How in the hell do you get on social media boo-hooing and crying and then just start talking in the middle of something and nobody has any clue of why you're upset, why you're crying, what is the explanation? What is that? That's a bullying mentality. That's a king mentality where I don't have to tell you what's going on. It's just like a whole bunch of emotions, and then you connect that to your cell phone, to your iPads, to whatever it is, and you're listening to that frequencies. Then you got the crystals rolling, and then your brain is already fried as is, and then your brain is like, oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for her. She's in the industry, and I'm sitting up here listening to her like, but why is she crying? And then I started to think, why is it every time these people get into these industries, they always start off on social media crying? Remember when Cardi B, when she initially came out and they got rid of the footage and she was on a balcony and she was sock 'em ups, her mouth was busted and she had a black eye and she was trying to tell us that the industry is not what it is and you don't want to get into it. And then the next thing you know, they got rid of that footage of her being sock 'em up and she was over there, I think, in the Middle East. And then she came with that song that made her famous. I said, oh shit, they was not, oh shit, she was getting fucked up over there, huh? Getting probably sexualized and everything. And then that footage is gone. Then you remember when Sukahana, again, that entry, talking about don't get in an industry, then she's all slutted out. And then now you got this person, Mi Ling, which is Nicki Minaj's sister. Then I started thinking, did Nicki Minaj sell her sister? Matter of fact, is she Nicki Minaj? Where is Nicki Minaj? What's going on? Did Roman go away? What happened? And so it's all ridiculous, but it's always an energy of emotions and trauma and crisis, a crisis type of chaotic frequency. It's like another form of what we call chaotic magic. everything is to be full of trauma, but never any explanation. Everything is psychological. These people have been doing social experiments, mental experiments, laboratory experiments, taking people, studying them forever. And now they've gotten to a point where they're creating this psychological warfare, cyber witching, where it's just a whole bunch of trauma and emotions. And you may not know the person. Is on the same lines with us, even, looking at what's her name, that Aki Lee, Russell Simmons' daughter. She's a whole terror. She may not be crying, but she's malfunctioning. And I said, what are they doing out here in front of us? I've never seen this type of frequency. We just thought everybody was fucking happy. Shit. Another scary energy is, I was listening to a story of the white girl, Dana Plato, from Different Strokes. Some of y'all might be above your pay grade with, was it Todd Bridges and stuff like that, and Gary Coleman. Her energy has always been tragic to me. And they were talking about how she was on this talk radio. Nowadays y'all call it podcast. The Harry Stern, what's it saying? Some Stern, whatever. Anyway, shock jock. And they were saying how they were making fun of her. This was in 99. And the next day she was dead. And I knew she later got on drugs and shit, and it reminded me of so much of the 80s, of how a lot of those young kids were on drugs, and so much shit was going on with them, and we're up there being entertained, but didn't understand that some of the shit that they were going through was so mounting on top of us, looking at the shit from Punky Brewster to Small Wonders, Different Strokes, all that shit. We didn't realize that them kids was getting fucked up, because we were just getting fucked up in some kind of way. But just to say all of that, where I was very interested with her stories, that they allegedly said she died, I think either suicide or a drug overdose, but she had a child. And then I thought about it, I said, where's her child? Do you understand her child could be in the industry and y'all don't know? Like, I was looking at the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erica. She's the Cancer. She's the one who was married to the man that sat up and stole his client's money. And I think, wasn't he representing O.J. Simpson, her husband? And she's pretending like she didn't know what the fuck he was doing when he was washing money through her companies. I said, just like a fucking Cancer pretending they don't know shit. Anyway, but she knew she was spending that money. But they was weird anyway, because she had to ask permission from everything. It made me think she was abused. So that's why I kind of like it, because I think she was abused in some energies, and she did what she did. Anyway, I remember she had a son, but then I forgot about him. And then they were talking about how her son testified in the A$AP Rocky case. I said, wait a minute, what? That motherfucker's a police officer. He was on the stand. I don't know what he was saying, but he was on the stand testifying in the A$AP Rocky case, and he's a police officer. I said, who are these people? We don't know who and what is in front of us in this world, because we're living in hell. Hell is when you have Mary J. Blige and what is her name, Misa? At it. And I'm sitting up there like, now this is above my pay grade. When you just know, you just like, wait a minute, from your vision of the 90s, because you got to start there, be up in a business and go back. I'm still up there tripping. What the fuck? It's like, You just thought they were friends. So then you understand that Misa, I guess she was always, I guess they, as a friend, she gets, I guess, became a stylist. I don't know, because I've seen where she styled for different people. And we already know her background and we don't need to go through all that, but both of them are Capricorns. That's the part that got me. We want to talk horoscope. And I had to look at the breakdown and I said, damn, they're acting like sea goats. Not even on earth, but in water with emotions. So as they're acting like a sea goat, and I said, damn, they're under the 7 and the 6, huh? As they call it, the 76ers. So then I started to get triggered. I said, damn, I know what it is to have a supposed friend that's not your friend, but you they friend, but they was never your friend, because they was just collecting information and trying to find ways, to fuck you over and know a lot of shit about you. I had a couple of people like that. One of them used to be on here with me. And so I'm just being nice. And so I started to realize, since you guys always want to mention, I started to realize, I said, Mary J. Blige is a whole mark. She's the Mark of Kane. She don't get a fucking break. So what I've learned out of this energy, this shit ain't got anything to do with no nigga. She just I think Mary J. Blige might have been paying Misa and probably don't got that money. Is that why she out there tired and working? Shit, not only does she owe a nigga, but she owe her friend. Because what information does Misa know? She knows a lot. Because don't you guys remember a couple of years back, they went and shut down that whole frequency of Mary J. Blige. Very interesting, and they was trying to insinuate she was a pedophile, that she was having sex with little boys and shit and more. And then the shit got shut down to the next thing you know, allegedly. That's when they pushed her out there on the whole stroll, and she's keep cakewalking across the fucking stage, and we know her feet tired. And then they messed up her whole essence of being Mary J. Blige and made her common. It's like these people are in jail. It's not the fact that they're broke. Are you in jail? Do you have an ankle bracelet? What is this? What are we to learn? How do we know before Mary J. Blige became a singer? We're just going to talk hypothetically and allegedly. How do you know that she wasn't a mule? And they say, you know what? You can half-ass sing. We can mold you into something. And then next thing you know, her and Misa connect, and Misa became her handler. Puff Daddy and them, they're just handlers. So say that Mary J. Blige got caught up in some shit and they said, yeah, you can half-ass sing. Well, let's mold you into something. It's kind of on this energies of Keisha Cole, allegedly. How they said allegedly that she used to be up in the Tenderloin, very interesting, of San Francisco, selling drugs over and knowing she's from Oakland. And especially in that good Tenderloin, a lot of that was going on, I don't know, allegedly. And then coming from Oakland and Palo Alto and going up in that good Tenderloin, being very interesting. And then knowing if they get caught up, by SFPD, and we already know they'll let you out the next day if you get caught up. Or, just kind of slap your hand and you stay in jail for, I guess, a couple of weeks doing county time. So a lot of them allegedly will come, from somewhere else and do what they do up in the Tenderloin, allegedly. And so then, allegedly, that Keisha Cole, they was talking about how she used to be over there in that good Tenderloin, being very interesting, because she been around for a minute, especially from a kid. When you hear her story that she was connected to death row all that time, it's just very interesting. So it makes me wonder, shit, did she really get caught up? Who knows? I'm just saying what it is. So anyway, I'm like, shit, is Mary J. Blige getting caught up in some shit that she has to basically pay for? And Misa's not getting that money anymore. So she like, bitch, I'm going to sue you in some kind of way. You owe me this money. That's what it looks like. It looked like that she there's some information that she knows, and Mary J. Blige has been paying her, allegedly. This has nothing to do with no fucking artist, with none of this. And some of y'all were like, well, maybe they was, he was, this dude was named Vado was dicking them both down. And I said, well, from what I've been hearing about Mary J. Blige, I don't think, a dick ball is her first choice, allegedly. See, I'm going to look at the both of them. A friend like that, you don't need any motherfucking enemies. But I know what that is. Did y'all see that shit with Sexy Red? We just gonna talk hell. I don't know if that was a tiger, a white tiger, or a lioness. Whatever it is, it's some kind of large ass cat. So don't take my word for it, whatever that was. And that energy of a big ass cat didn't like her. And I wondered, I said, what did that animal feel like? And I'm assuming it looked like she's in some kind of Islamic country, because she had on the garb, so they must be turning that ass out, or she must be selling something, some pussy or something over there. Anyway, they had her trying to pet that dang, I think it was a lioness, but it didn't look like a lioness because it looked like a white tiger. Maybe I'm tripping. Anyway, I'm going to say it's a white tiger. Whoever knows, just put in my comments, whatever. So anyway, they had it well, taken care of. But when she touched, it looked at her and roared. And I was like, oh, she not a good person. It didn't want her to touch. Huh. See, we don't watch things like that, huh? Interesting. I wish we all had them senses. Somebody come on, you go, "Row," and then they back the fuck up off of you. And now being a sensory empath or a hyper empath. See, our senses need to become better like that. And some of you will be like, but you're an occultist. I want my senses to be just like that when it comes up to clients. Hey, wayward, wow. Oh, I'll back the fuck up, bitch. Don't you want that? If when it comes up to relationships? Hey, baby, this and that. Wow. Well, I'll back up off this chick. Because of senses. The Beyonce concert, huh? Did you see where Beyonce is trying to force people to like her mama? That's a hag. And calling her Miss T, talking about her book is #1. Who? Wait a minute, what? Did y'all see Blue Ivy dancing hella hard? Shouldn't she be in boarding school, in private school somewhere? There's child laws. Some of you people out there talking about that she cutting up. Especially you gay people out there, because you fans of her. Stop it. Because we're going to stop playing with having them play in our face with these people. I said, they keep doing symbols and signs of Hindu yoga in front of our face, Egyptian, all them symbols and their bodies and all of that shit. The concert kind of reminded me of Donna Summer's 1983 concert when she brought her daughter out. Was her daughter named Mimi or something? Remember that? If you have to be back in the day. It's just repetitive ass shit. And I was sitting up there looking at the way the concert was moving. I was looking at Blue Ivy. And some people may disagree, but I don't give a fuck. And I was telling someone, I said, look, she's dancing like I said she's dancing like Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson. The whole energy is that feel. I've been to a Michael Jackson concert and a Jackson's concert, and I've also been to a Janet Jackson concert. And I said, And the way she's dancing, and it's like they've been sucking the energies of the Jacksons. Because I know it's kind of like an infatuation. So I was looking at the way Blue Ivy was dancing, and I said, damn. And then how did Blue Ivy become 6 feet tall? Who is that person? And you could clearly see whoever that is, their faces, and they don't talk. Some people talk about that they think Blue Ivy's autistic. And I was like, is it her? I have a couple of clients / spiritual constituents that's going to go to the Beyonce concert, so that'll be very interesting. And why did they market it so back to back? Who wants to go to a concert to look at people's children and a mama? And what is so wrong about it is they sat up and put that interesting child. What's her name? Rumi? Now we're gonna stop that playing. Because y'all don't like to talk about people's kids. But you can't sit up and put this interesting child in front of us and we don't have questions, and we know fully well that she has a whole brother. You're just not going to harass us with this. And I said, you going to tell me I don't even think she's on the verge. I don't think she's on the spectrum. Matter of fact, is that Beyonce's kid, period? It could be Jay-Z's, but not hers. Because this kid looked different. And then why she keep waving at everybody? I've seen this before. Y'all gonna keep letting this Beyonce energy play in your face, and she throwing all them rituals and stealing people's concert settings and so on. I think people need to keep, I think entertainers or stars or famous people should keep their kids out of the public eye when there's a question. I know many other talented, for real kids who could dance way better than a Blue Ivy. I understand there's an effect, but no. And I really believe that she should have kept the interesting child backstage. That's spell work. Don't do that. That's spell work. You putting spell work on the audience for us to be on the spectrum, allegedly. We up there think it's cute. And I said, that's not cute. That's putting spell work on me. They up there playing games with us and forcing us to believe that Blue Ivy can dance. And that's talent. You know what blew me away? That I know that they did some fucked up shit to Lizzo. Lizzo was at a Beyonce concert dressed as her, or the theme. Lizzo don't like no fucking Virgo. What kind of games is... Wasn't they just talking shit to each other? And when Lizzo surpassed Beyonce, they knocked Lizzo down with that dummy shit and made her lose weight and turned her into an Aries. It's above y'all pay grade. And now she's looking up when in reality she's a higher element. Than Beyonce. So it's a lot of hell going on here, a lot of frequencies, right? There's been a lot of push going on. Recently, I was working with my client, and we were talking about Christianity's ancestors in Christianity. And there's been this interesting push on Black people respecting their parents. And there's a whole parent coalition of meeting because kids not talking to them. Your parents can be your worst nightmare. Me personally, I believe in not talking to your parents, but either divorcing them or separating from them, depending on the issue. I believe that children of parents sometimes need to put their parents on the shelf and let their legs dangle and talk to them at a later date until they can grow. Black people tend to use the Bible as a way of psychological warfare to force their kids to obey. But if you read it right, it's really telling you that the parents that birthed you or helped you get in this universal soul are not your parents. Your parents is the spirits above. Your real mother and father is God, we'll say. Because those are the same parents that will become so selfish and will sacrifice you, or say, I give my child over to God. Kind of like what Hannah did with Samuel when she, after the 7 years, gave Samuel to Eli, the molester. And all through the Bible, that's what they did. They kept giving their children back to God, because the God is the real parent, if not the pseudo parent, but the real parent. Right? Isn't that what it's presenting? My client sent me a text message where her mother was wishing her a happy birthday, but her father is a Shriner. And just so happened, my spiritual constituent, she turned 33. I said, ooh. And then her mother sent her a text message wishing her a happy birthday, and then quoted Psalms 18, verse 28. And when I went back and I read it, I was like, I said, she's sure trying to put you under some spell work with your demon ass, huh? And we have to be careful of what's happening in the universe, because now Black people are trying to go back into the Bible and use it as a way of abuse, but then misquote it and misunderstand it. And the bottom line is that we can have an understanding all type of ways of the Bible, what it could be, but it's no use of these new breed of motherfuckers to go back in and try to use it against us and you. As I really started to understand some frequencies, somebody asked me the question of Apple Watts. And remember, Apple Watts, the first time we were introduced, for me, with Apple Watts was from Love and Hip Hop Los Angeles. And I liked her, but I always picked up some frequencies with her. And I could have swore, wasn't she close with Yo-Yo? Like Yo-Yo, wasn't Yo-Yo trying to mentor her or something? Am I tripping? Anyway, but I found her very interesting but misunderstood. But I can tell that it was something going on behind the scenes of her life, right? And it appeared to me that if you could just kind of mentor her and support her, she'll be cool as shit. Someone asked again the question of what type, or do I believe there was a root work done to Apple Watts? Because remember, she got into that car accident that has her partially paralyzed and fucked up, and is nothing but the spirit that's guiding her this far, and that she's still on this earth. That means she was supposed to be here. Nothing more, nothing less, right? And in so many words, they're asking, do I believe spell work? First of all, we got to be careful of root work. Because if you're asking me, do I believe she had root work done? I'm going to say I believe on one part, she may have been poisoned. But at the same time, I believe somebody was doing pot work on her. But then the other practical energies, insurance. And who was she supposed to be a sacrifice for? Because wasn't she coming from LA going driving back to Vegas? Because the accident, it just like, And then wasn't it her sister or somebody who was real shady to her? So yes, I believe there was some sort of root work, but I do believe there was some other sort of pot work. But then at the same time, that loops into the practical frequencies of insurance. Then goes back into sacrifice. So it's all of the above. You can't just put your finger on one. Now, some of you will say root work is spell work. You're correct, but it is a medicine. It is herbs. It is dealing with more opiates. Opiates can be a form of root work. Okay, so we have to kind of understand. And so when you're asking me that question, do I believe shit? Hey, she was around them people. She could have been at the damn bar and they slipped something up in her drink. All type of stuff, right? Because I've seen that happen before. But I do see pot work. Someone forwarded me a video. And I don't like talking about this person because I don't like him down to the grounds of civilization, down to the ground, because of the behavior. But I do want to kind of mention some energies. Anyway, someone forwarded me a video talking about Haitian Bokar, Lenny, as it said on the title. And it says selling fake honey jars. So this was forwarded to me. I wasn't looking for it. So I don't want to hear no bullshit, because I know he has fans and a lot of them are women, and y'all be on some craziness. Anyway, the person in the video was talking about a fake honey jar. And I was like, dang, okay, whatever. What's the problem? And he went on to say that Bokar's client was sent a honey jar, and I guess accidentally left the price, I guess from the 99-cent store, of the jar. However, I don't believe it was so much of the jar or what was in it. I think the issue was how much allegedly was charged. And they kept talking about that he charged $1,800. I said, is this a publicity stunt? What's happening here, right? So you never know in that world. So anyway, they kept going on and on and on and on and on. And the number one thing that really baffled me was the fact that you have a client, you do whatever for the client, whatever it is, good or bad or evil, but you give the client whatever they're asking for, and then they go to a different cultist, we're going to say cultist, or religious person, or whatsoever, and then talk about you to them, or send your work send your work to someone else. That's problematic. Where y'all get that from? When I initially started in this business, I used to get a lot of clients that would hit me up and would say that another occultist put some shit on them and they want it removed. And at the time, I did not have ethics, like for real. And so when I would go do the work, I would get kickback from the work. All type of shit would happen to me. And I said, when I initially started, then I find out what really happened with the client and that other occultist, we'll say. A lot of times it was that the client didn't pay them people. Or the client was jumping around to other occultists getting work done. You have to interview these people. Right? So that, number one, bothered me about this whole frequency and what they were talking about. For one. The other part was the fact that they kept making a big deal about it being some kind of honey jar. And then saying that Haitians don't do honey jars. I've seen it. I've walked up in Haitian places and seen them honey jars being sold separately. Okay. Then the other part that bothered me about that whole video was the fact that they opened the jar and kept talking about what was in it. And then talking about what was on their altar. And then went on to make a big deal about how much he charged. I said, I don't give a fuck. And these new motherfuckers are not going to start to try to put an industry standard of pricing on what people do in this world on their spell work or work, whatever it may be. Because you motherfuckers don't sacrifice your bodies. Because y'all forget, you're not sacrificing your bodies and your energies and well-being. Now, some of you niggas out here want to be welfare to work. That's your business. But that's not for everybody. So I was like, and so what if you charge $1,800 and what? What's the issue? Then they went into that the Haitian and Dominican community have denounced him. Okay. Then they said he was outsourcing his work. I said, how you do that? Then they kept talking about honey jars or hoodoo. Not necessarily. Because in the American culture, they wasn't using honey like that. And depending on what state you're in and town, that's for sure. And depending on the culture of your family, y'all may not fuck with honey like that. You doing honey jars, I know energies of doing milk. Using milk and letting it curdle. All type of shit. Sugar water. Feces in jars. Stop. There's all type of shit. What are you talking about? Then they said that Bokar wasn't verified. By who? You're not supposed to be verified in this industry. Who said verify? What? Crown? What? What are you verified about who? Rat? What? That's the entity of man. Then he said he didn't have the rites of passage. From who? What the fuck is going on here? That's on the same lines of that curio whatever and being in a spiritual database. If you in a fucking spiritual database, then I for sure don't trust you. And if somebody is verifying you, I for sure don't trust you. And what the fuck are you talking about the rites of passage? That's on the same lines of getting crowned. And being repped. Then I started to understand some things. I said, these are men yakking at other men and yakking which caused women to yak at each other. I was in that world when Witch Patrol was popping off. Fuck yeah. Until this day, people angry. I don't give fucks. I get all type of text messages talking shit. Whatever that means. That means I'm still under work. So they still just granted. But now that I'm looking at this, I think it's messy and fucked up for clients to obtain something and then go to the next motherfucker. I think it's fucked up to put how much an occultist charge for their work when you don't know the investment that person put in their work. I can't say for everybody. Yes, there are frauds out here. Yes, there's motherfuckers that will charge your life away and won't do shit and sit there and just have, a Botanica candle burning and charge. I can't, but that's them. But I don't fuck around with people money and throwing spell work at money. So I'm learning some frequencies. In the Bible, and certain energies, I think we understood some things. In the Bible, they create men as the leaders of being dream tellers and prophets. They minimalized the woman from Endor even to Miriam. We don't understand that Miriam was the true prophetess. They minimalized the Virgin Mary, Hagar, Esther. They made her look like a hoe, which connected to Eastern Star frequency. They replaced women into the wise men instead of midwives and doulas as they really were. There's so many things that they just downplay us, right? And there's something we missed. Witchcraft, I have to revisit it. Because I talk about it like, oh, they're just doing witchcraft, right? But I had to revisit it. This is where time brings a change so you can really understand something. And something hit me. What hit me was the Lord was never talking about women doing witchcraft work, spell work, and so on. It was talking about men. Men are not supposed to be the dreamers. They are not supposed to, meaning describing being a dream teller. They're not supposed to be throwing tarot cards. They're not supposed to be doing spell work. They're not supposed to be fortune tellers. We are not supposed to be going to men for spiritual care and spiritual work. You better reread it because it talks about it. So I had to go back and even look at the Masonic Bible, and it said the same thing. It said, don't go to those wizards. So how did women become crucified? And again, I was talking to some people, and I told them, I said, back then, they would kill single mothers who had sons and say that they're witches, and single women of a certain age and say that they're witches. So when I'm listening to men haggle, we're not supposed to be fucking with you in the first place. So that means if that man is a trans, meaning if he turned himself into a woman, we're not supposed to be going to him. I'm going to be real with you. I'm just being truthful. And if you look at the world of occultism, that is what it's presenting. Men haggle and create a certain energy. We're all talking about all these men doing tarot cards, especially black men. We're like, what the fucks? Talking about they wearing crystals and shit, nigga. Makes you not want to date a nigga with dreads because you don't know what the fuck gonna come out of him. They up here telling us Jah, the lion, Jehovah, the demon. It's above y'all pay grade. What man created that? Right? Spiritualism, religion. But in the spirit, it tells us and it gives us directives. Okay. And she's saying she's anti-men. No, I'm for women and having understanding. I'm anti-bullshit. I'm anti-lies. Because then if you go back to the baptism, I had to go back and research culture. Women used to have babies in lakes and rivers. So I went back and I started to do a compare and contrast. The baptism is connected to a birth of a child. Like a baptism, when a woman's about to have her child, everybody would come around the river or lake and watch her birth the new child. Depending on the tribe, depending on the village, depending on the family. But yes. And the midwives will help deliver the baby and go into the water. Which taps back into Christ Jesus and not the Christ. The Spirit is showing there's a difference in having a baby in water and a baby on earth. The baptism is a scam because the baptism is a replica of the original energies of how a woman used to have a baby before Christ and after Christ. Women would have babies in the river. Women didn't have babies in dry places unless they had to. That was not the normal practice. This is above your pay grade. So Google fairies, go look for it. Somebody in my comments going to say, can you show me where you got that from? Why? To prove to you? I'm above your pay grade. Baptism is really birth. And they restructured it into man to have Jesus baptize motherfuckers, but it's a new birth, a rebirth, because it comes from a woman having babies in the water. Then the baby come out the woman's vagina and starts swimming in the water. How did we miss that? Amniotic fluid and isn't that fucked up? That they used the birth of a mother, and then said it was a baptism to restructure the Bible. When you start to understand some things, then you understand the three houses. First house, Satan. Ocean water is heaven, salvation, revival. That's why they have Jesus during the resurrection rising out of the water. He didn't come out the sky. He came out the water. Lucifer's second house, earth, afterlife, hell, hell on earth, ridiculed, so then let's stop here at the second house of Lucifer, the illusion. I really went back to when I said, are we dead? Hell and the lost world. Just wonder, and I'm just speaking hypothetically, that we're all dead. We are in hell. We are living in hell, but we're dead. But we don't know we're dead. We ask questions. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? Why would God let this happen? Because we're in hell. There is no God. That's why everybody keeps looking for God, because God is not here. Because God is in the first house. When we initially was birthed in heaven. But when you're dead, we ended up in hell. That sacrifice, whatever, hell. I said, literally, this could be a frequency of the movie's Other. Although, is it called The Others? Where, remember when Nicole Kidman and the kids kept running around cutting up, and to find out they were dead, and they was harassing the living? How do you know when we're up here talking about ancestors and spirits that we're not harassing the living? Because we're really dead. How do you know those kids you aborted aren't really alive on the other side and you're harassing them because you're dead? How do I know I'm not harassing my Aunt Julia and she's really alive? Because I'm in hell. All the things that's happening on this hellified earth, you telling me this is not hell? You got a whole man in governmental energy signing executive orders and he's a felon. But your next option was Kamala Harris, who couldn't identify if she was black, Indian, or a prostitute. But then brought in sneaking energies in America. Not Kamala, but just that whole energy, because you guys were Kamala. You tell me that's not hell? This is above your pay grade. To be dead and living in hell. You struggle, you fight, you struggle, you fight. Oh my gosh, I don't have money. I need to look for work with cyber, trucks, this and that, blah, blah, blah. We got to look at Beyonce dancing. Autism, virgin retardation, sexual perversion. Gangs, death, loss of job. This is not hell. You trying to survive. Judgment, verification. No righteousness, right? Turbulence, strife, evil. No fear of nothing. No morality. We are in the light. That's why love and light. We are in the light. This is the light. This is heat. This is the sun. The sun is burning us. Then they hide it. Right? Because there's some importance to be in the dark. And that's where heaven comes in. Ocean, water, salvation. This is above your pay grade, I told you. The third house is purgatory. You're in limbo. You're in repentance. You're with the angels. You're with the archangels. You're with the church. You're with the demons. You're with Jehovah. Sometimes you're even in limbo. Let alone the first house, which is heaven, keep giving the second house chances. But we are all sinners. And you don't want to realize that if you're born on earth, in a hospital, in a bed, on earth, you are automatically a sinner. Your life automatically is going to be fucked up. Whereas if you're born in water, you're set free, you're cleansed. You have a start. Revived. Brand new. Two different elements. Makes you wonder why they want us to have babies on earth instead of in water. I had a spiritual constituent say that she asked the hospital, could she have a water birth? They said no, of course. On earth, they teach that we are the Antichrist, anti-woman. The Antichrist means anti-woman, because woman is Christ, right? There's a difference in being buried in the water and being buried on earth. Being buried on earth is a whole other energies, and that's why most souls are in limbo. Where being buried in the water is ancestral and is a reflection and mirror. And you're set free. On earth, they're holding us hostage. When you're buried on earth, you're not set free. That's why some people want to be cremated, because they want to be set free. They want their soul set free. But when you're buried on earth, you're still in hell. You're a monument for other people. Your flesh rots off the bones. They'll take you to the highest mountain to let the vultures eat you. To give the gods. Where in water, you're just set free. Right? We're just talking, we're having a conversation about hell, right? Hell, an antichrist spirit. Anti-woman, when you have Michelle Obama and Tina Knowles that's calling themselves, calling out religious people who don't support trans community. Who gives a fuck? Call out the religious people who don't support the trans community. And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. Because it is a travesty of hell that fucks around with the spirituality of life. That's why we're in hell. Because nobody's telling the truth in hell. We are afraid to say her when he didn't when she didn't transformed herself. Is it Deuteronomy that talks about that? Let's see. I don't know if I can find it. That in so many words, women are not supposed to wear what men are wearing, and men are not supposed to wear what women are wearing. Is it Deuteronomy? I said, well, there is truth to that. But when you're in hell, anything goes. Because technically, religious people are not supposed to accept the behavior. Because that's against the natural energies of the spirit. No judgment. I'm just talking what it is, right? In hell, we have white-collared witchcraft or white wizardry. Things have to make sense. White people don't make sense. These people have a hatred towards us, a very strong hatred. But through our history, culture appropriation. They wanted us to breastfeed their children. They would have forced sex or sex with men, with the black men and black women. They would entrust us to work in their homes. They entrusted us to work on their farms. We were nanny to their children and cooks and more. But you hate us. You guys didn't mind your business. You killed, murdered, created disenfranchised positions, but then went back and created philosophical bylaws and codes of ethics and morality clause. Y'all don't think that's odd? If somebody hates you that much, they're not around you. Why even conquer? But that's what it is to live in hell. You have the Holocaust in hell. You have lobotomy in hell. You have drugs in hell. You have Fashion Nova in hell. We're listening to Trump, J.D. Vance, and this craziness with art and this infatuation to get rid of art history. Art is political and art is wealth. We have to start understanding the new forms of art is cheap and it has no soul to it or spirit, no creativity, because the internet has killed the art scene. And the artistic creation is gone. People are looking at social media too much to really create authentic pieces. They want to remove out of these art museums and Smithsonian's the Black experience and truth of melanated exhibits and Black exhibits. They want to continuously divert the history of Black people and then replace them with Indian history, Asian history, manipulated AI history that's untrue or orchestrated. But we're not connecting that maybe they want to remove some of those artifacts from the museums is because now they want to make them private collections and auction them. They want to have private collections to use it as a form of spell work or to have it in their homes. But now we don't have to worry about white people. We have third world motherfuckers like Asians, your Indians, your Hindus, your Chinese, and all of them who are now buying Black art or melanated energies, exhibit pieces. We have individuals in third world countries or European countries buying these pieces. You have Middle Easterns putting this type of stuff in their vaults. And you Black people don't have nothing. You guys out here painting just basic ass shit, but this is what they really want. So they want to recreate history and lie to you, but then take history and have it as a private collection. Let's really think about it, right? I told you, even from what I have, that come from white people homes, right? Which walks into the energy of these citizen birthrights and allegedly deporting citizens to Central America. If you guys don't see that's hell and it doesn't make sense, I don't know what else to say. Technically, Trump would have to leave because his ancestors are German Jews and so on. And a lot of the Jews that were here came through Ellis Island. And they were slaves in the warehouse and industrial energies. And they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the Slavics, the Italians, the Chinese, the Hindus, and the Irish. They don't want to talk about that the Asians were slaves here in America. They keep talking about black people, but we don't know what black people they're talking about because you didn't understand the whole reparation bullshit was on cap. The reparation energy was for you to investigate your family background, then report it back to the government. And some of you will say, some of you will be like, well, I'm this and I'm that. But you didn't realize most of y'all are American blacks. You are black nationalists. The issue at hand in reality were the immigrants coming in. See, the United States are really not telling you how much they voted people in from the Caribbean islands that were African descent. And then some of them you didn't know they were Caribbean and you married them. But then it's a crazy effect. Because then some of the Americans that were here, the original Americans, they shipped them off out of the United States into the Caribbean islands and Africa, and then brought them here. Because some of you would say, like I told you the story of black people coming out of Mexico. But then some of you will say, well, they most likely they came from Africa. No, they came right there from Mexico. Well, they're Nigerian. How do you know the original people of Mexico wasn't the Nigerians? I'm a European descent. Well, the original people of Europe were black. So they bamboozled y'all with this DNA stuff. But reparations was a cold scam all along. Just to find information about you. Just for the long run, for them to try to deport you. Just above your pay grade. That's a cold game and a cold spell. It's like a census. A cultural census to find you out. Because under extensive blood work, they could tell exactly who you are. That's why in reality, the black people that they were saying that came from certain parts of tribes of Africa didn't. Because they've been hiding information. We're just having a conversation, right? For reparations, they had y'all doing town hall meetings, rallies, state and county bills. And it was a lie. That's a cold game and a cold piece of spell work, isn't it? How they got you was on behavioral magic. They studied you analytically. And what they've created out of you were jealousy, envious people. They gave to other cultures, nationalities, and black people. We're looking at them like, well, how come they're giving them this and how come they're giving them that? Well, that was all a game. It was a scientific game to deal with behavioral magic, egos, pride, jealousy. So automatically, when you have those type of frequencies, then it is called it's like envy evolution. Then you will want reparations. You will give your blood. You will give your information because you want what they gave other people, the Japanese, the Jews, and so on. The so-called Native Americans. That's what all this is about. This is above y'all pay grade, isn't it? Because you always say, that isn't true. Pay me my money. You better reevaluate how America is showing its ass right now and how they've been scamming the fuck out of you, huh? Caused all this confusion, right? I most recently was looking at clips from The Sopranos. Let's talk hell. Today, the show Sopranos wouldn't even work. They would have canceled The Sopranos because of the topics. The one that had me cracking up and thinking, damn, that would not even work today, was when they found out that one of the wise guys was gay. And he was getting sucked off in a car. No, he was doing the sucking in a car and got caught. And it was reported back to the wise guys on The Sopranos. And they all had a meeting about it and said it was a disgrace. It was this, it was that. And at the end, they end up killing him. And the one guy, they had him... what happened? They said he was beaten up really bad and had a pool stick up in his butt. And then I found it interesting that they made a difference of who did what. It wouldn't have been as bad if he was getting sucked off. But because he was doing the sucking, it made it worse. And they felt that wise guy had to die. In today's terms, that would be horrendous. Oh my God. But why can't we have that side to see that? To see that energy? Why did it have to be so sensitive? That's some energies right there. That shows you how the world has turned. It shows you how sensitive the world is and how we have nothing to compare it to because we're in hell, right? In an energy, I was asked again in so many words, what is the obsession with gay men? Let's see here. These are the things that I get so we can understand fetishes in the world. A married white guy looking for a gay black man to treat a woman in a bedroom. So let me repeat this. A married white guy looking for gay black men to treat like a woman in the bedroom. A married white man wants a black man to treat him like a married woman in the bedroom. Okay? More and more, and this is in your energies, this is why there's an obsession. Meet me by the bathrooms at Fort D Pseudo, meaning gay men going into public places having sex in the bathroom. This is sniffy. These men, I have a whole list of men saying, meet me at the Walgreens bathroom. Meet me at this bathroom. Meet me at that bathroom. You outside waiting to use the bathroom. They up in there sucking dick and shit. But you asking me questions about somebody being obsessed. Right? Right now, what I'm obsessed with are these fetishes. But I'm going to say this. In movies, more and more, especially among black people, they are casting, I believe, more men or trans men in roles and having them perpetrate as women, but they're really not women. It's this movie that I've seen called Both Eyes Open. It's on Amazon. You guys go check it out. The actress is supposed to be Gail Bean, and Joy Bronson and Taye Diggs is in the movie, and Tristan, I think, McWilds. I kept looking at the Gail Bean person who played Allie, and I said, this is a whole nigga. And then I was looking at the Jay Bronson. Are they giving these people testosterone, or what's happening here? And I believe this is what's happening. This is just my belief. I'm like, are they literally replacing women and putting men, especially black men and women, in these type of roles and have them pretend to be women or men? I've seen that a lot on Tubi and on some of these black shows from Detroit. And they'll have you believe it's a man, but it's really a woman. Okay. Obsession. I'm trying to understand, and now I'm realizing in black communities, They've been sneaking trans in these communities for years. Not only what they've sneaked or have snuck in black communities are pedophiles. Molesters. I was showing my client and spiritual constituents her house over there. She has a house in Capitol Hill. There's a whole bunch of men who are fucking pedophiles. And I told her, I said, some of these men you would date, because you wouldn't think this is what is a whole database, and it gives a warning. Not even Megan's Law. I was listening to this energy called Lady Java, and this person is supposed to be a legend in the trans world. And my energy is, why did they push this frequency within the black neighborhoods, which include felons? Like, they'll place them there. What is this energy, right? Especially in the black entertainment world, especially in strip clubs and burlesque. And I'm talking about the time of the 50s and 60s was really strong. Sometimes that single woman that you thought was a single woman in a black neighborhood wasn't really a single woman, because she was really a man. And as women during that time sometimes will say, oh, go over there and help Miss Smith. But Miss Smith is really, ask her husband to go help Miss Smith. But Miss Smith was really a whole dude. These experiments have been going on, right? Somebody forwarded me over, I think it was from Jack, how these gay men love to be spat on and saliva everywhere, right? We talking about how in them bathhouses a lot of shit goes on. They was telling me, we just talking fetishes, how a man was walking around with a dildo in his mouth and choking himself at the same time. But you said there's an obsession, but this is the shit that's going on, allegedly. Black men better be careful, because they're trying to lead you into something. I was really thinking about that Shannon Sharp shit. I said something else is going on. I'm going to call it a form of Afro-Sadism. Afro-Sadism is when you are chosen as a black man or woman to do sadistic energies, especially with mixed company. The growing trend in this universal soul especially with Asian women, is for them to get choked the fuck out as they have a vibrator, specifically the rose or the tongue one on their vagina, as they're being choked from behind. They are requesting to be body slammed and then choked, or be put in a triangular hold by black men. I'm hearing Asian women are asking for this, and white women. So I hope that answers the question that we have to be careful when there's this Afro-Sadism going on and is being asked by mixed company. more and more black men are getting into cockholds. And that enters you into homosexuality. They say black men need to be careful messing around with white men and white women in this type of frequencies of Afro-Sadism, because a lot of them are racist and discriminatory and will set you up, but want to have this type of frequency go on. This is what's happening. In this universal soul, this is all hell. Somebody was just telling me how up in the orgy house, men underwear was ending up missing. The men go get their underwear after being in an orgy, it's gone. They said to find out, it was a whole white woman stealing underwear because she likes smelling feces and booty. So therefore, she will find certain underwear and smell it and then put it in her pocket, and they caught her. She would come to the orgies, not to be in the orgy, not be part of the orgies. She was going to the orgies to find underwear. And if it had, this is no lies, y'all, no lies. And if it had some streaks or anything going or strong smell of the booty, she's stealing it. And you tell me this is not hell. Luke is getting, from my understanding, they're going to put a new, they're going to name a street after Luke from 2 Live Crew. The way that they created the flyer was like it was a obituary. I said, oh, they trying to take him out. What are they trying to say? But something in me had, I don't know what it was. I started listening to the song. I think it's called Scarred with Trick Daddy and stuff on it. And if you go back and read the words, the true words of it, I had to shut the fuck up because I said, damn, this was the entry to what we see today. This is hell. They talk about putting fingers in the ass, dick this, dick that, bitch this, bitch that, ho, ho, ho. Then putting a dick in the throat. Then I said, well, are they well, a bald-headed bitch? And I said, ugh. I said, that's boomers and fucking Generation X, bitch. We got Keyless in Africa. She act like she's a whole prostitute. And she's selling ass and everything else, it looked like, allegedly. And you could clearly see she's prostituting. And every time she gets on the fucking Instagram, her tits are so tight and the nipples come out. And I thought I was tripping until somebody else brought it to my attention. I said, I thought I was tripping. I said, I know Keela's not over there fucking selling pussy. But she is, allegedly. And to be honest with you, that's happening a lot on Instagram. A lot. And also TikTok. When you keep seeing the girl turning around, bending over, or kind of wiggling, that's what they're doing. We were in a conversation and we were talking about Kanye, Ye or Yeezus, and we were talking about how he made that statement of supposedly what happened to him. But did y'all ever think that was a psychological warfare on your brain so you can envision a child sucking dick, so you guys be perverted and full of pedophile and pedophilia? back in the day when people talked and explained their stories, they did not explain it in detail. We had the understanding of what they were talking about in an educated, healthy way. But more and more, especially with Black people, why are Black people getting on social media talking about details of their abuse? I was listening to this woman who said that she was molested. Here we go. Kanisha Hart. She talked about she was molested by 13 pedophiles. Well, no, she's not 13. I think, did she say 9? And talk about her mother would leave her, 16 pedophiles. First, she said she was 3 years old, and then she said 16. That lets you know it's propaganda. Then more and more you're listening to females talk about their personal energies of what happened with their mothers, and then what they'll do is go into detail. Do you understand that's a porno movie? Do you understand they're literally explaining to us so we can envision the sexual frequency, because it's almost like reading a Playboy magazine or looking at a porno movie? Like, they want us to envision your mama having sex with you, having oral sex with you. They are intentionally trying to mount perversion. They want to downplay pedophilia and harm. They sexualize it, and they're using Black people. When Krishan came, when Krishan said that shit about her sister, we should have known then it was some bullshit. They're having fucking podcasts to explain how and what happened in their abuse, but it's intentional, it's sexual, and then some people don't understand that. This is propaganda. And I thought about it. I said, yeah, I knew something was off. This is the new porn, and they're using Black people to talk about the pedophiles and being molested and sexually assaulted, and to go into detail, almost like a novel. Okay? To enhance your sexual frequency. Start to look at this shit. It's almost it's psychological warfare, but it's messing with the brain psychologically. I was listening to someone and I wondered to myself, they were talking about the energies of dementia and Alzheimer's, right? And I noticed that they have done a lot of testing with brain number 2, which is here. But my question is, how come they never talk about the spinal cord fluid and the spinal cord in addition to the disc? How come they never talk about spinal cord health? They talk about brain health, but they don't realize the real brain is the spinal cord. Once the spinal cord is fucked, you're fucked. Do you understand literally? Like, I was talking to someone, and a lot of people don't understand, is that herpes can actually sit in the spinal energies, the lower back. And if anything aggravates it, it can uproot itself. And you may not even know you had it. It could be medications. It could be anything. And I'm very interested, especially with Black people. We don't understand. A lot of us are stressed. And we carry a lot of stress in our spine. Especially women. And they don't even talk about how heroin fucks up the spine. We sit all day. We stand all day. We do certain energies. Now they have you guys eating a whole bunch of protein, and you're building and you're weightlifting, and you don't know how that is bad for your spine. You don't know what are the connections. The spine is a feminine frequency. like a snake. Huh. Y'all niggas was running around here talking about kundalinis and all that shit, right? I was minding my business looking at Power. The show Power on Stars. What's his name? Omari? How come we didn't peep when he kissed Beyonce in 2019? That's when the show kind of went to the left, because by 2020 he was off the show. Do you think he was blacklisted? But then I started to peep something. I said, damn. He for real treated Tasha like shit. And he was in love with that man looking Latina. Till the end. It was like he hated his black family. And in the show, they tried to insinuate maybe this is why. When he would have sex with Tasha, it was like forced, but with the Latina, it was like, oh, love. So much so that it caused his son to hate him. His son didn't hate what he did. His son hated how he treated his mother. I was seeing something with Cam Newton called Freaky Fridays, and he had a Neptune nigga on there talking with all the vocabulary and gab, trying to explain and sexualize black women, talking about that most black men don't, as some story, don't look at black women as equals or as how can I say, as equal in a fair way. In so many words, I'm paraphrasing, but looking at black women in a sexual frequency and sexualizing her, and not looking at her as a sort of spirituality, as a code of being, as a person being down, we'll say, that's copacetic, right? And as I was listening to him, I said, this is so dangerous, because he sounds so educated and so right. But he sounds like a Neptune man, a nigga that's about to be gay, about to fuck with a trans. Because you are setting a propaganda tone by saying that black men sexualize black women. And that is far from the truth, and that is disrespectful. And it's a lot of these niggas out here who are still under Kevin Samuels that didn't know that he was a Neptune nigga and follow the philosophies, okay? Because what it says is that it is so that you must really want a dude. And that is why more and more they have created a whole subculture called Afro-Sadism. Because a lot of these Negroes out here have big issues with their own mamas, their sisters, their aunties, or whatever women been in their life. So they need to be sadistic. Because he connected black women to sexuality. So you telling me you don't connect a Latina, a white woman, or whatsoever? They seem more copacetic. So anytime you fuck with a black woman, it's sexualized. And you got to retrain yourself to be a man to understand who this woman is. The same woman vagina that you popped out of. But I'll just make it make sense. And even when you look at that, what's his name, that Cam Newton, his face was like, oh, yeah. That's propaganda and spellwork. We are in hell. Did y'all see that sperm competition in Los Angeles? That one wins $10,000 if they sperm can move fast? Have y'all been seeing it's been more and more Asian markets opening up? Japanese and Korean? Did y'all know that pineapples are cactus? I just learned that. I didn't. Did you know camel meat is a better meat and healthier? Did you know goat milk and camel milk supposed to be a better nutrition? Is that why they also trying to move into Africa to take over the camel businesses? Anyway, I thought I was going to do a short one, but this is Weird Renegade Witches Blog. It is up when you want some real motherfucking work done.